2, 1, live. Okay, just checking if you hear me. Give me a second. Am I live or am I not? Yes, let's see. Yes, you can hear my voice. Okay, perfect. So, hello. Here we are for another day of Music Tree Mini Guide. Actually, we are here for the second day of Music Tree Mini Guide, which is about children aged 3 to 4. So today the conversation is a little bit more, I wouldn't say complicated, but I want to explain to you how we do the classes at Music Tree, and also I want to tell you, speak about the activity that you have found today in the PDF. So hello Eliška, hi, hello Daniela, nice to see you guys, thanks for being here. Okay, so when we're working with children age 3 to 4, the first thing that we need to say is that at Music Tree we have children coming with their parents or the carers, but they stay alone in the sessions with us. So this is the first big thing that happens, and that needs to flow easily. So this detachment that the kids have from their carer and the trust that they need to have in us is quite a big step forward into their development. So we always have some sessions where the children have a possibility to just come with their parents, the parents stay in, they have a look if everything, is flowing okay, and if they like, then they can continue the sessions by themselves in the group. Why is this such an important thing for me? It's very important for me because when they have this age, they can really explore the space in a way that they couldn't if they have a parents there. It's very difficult to have a complete freedom when you have your mom or your dad that look at you, or that even at that age, because kids, when they get 2, 2.5, 3, they start understanding that there is someone else looking at them, and so their musical productions, how do you say it in English, are less than before, okay, diminished. So it's very important that the kids are feeling okay to be in the session with us, because in that way they would explore the space much more. Why am I keep saying exploring the space, even if we're talking about music sessions? Well, because the sessions that we run are based on Gordon's music learning theory. And according to this theory, but also according to a lot of other studies that have been done in music education and research in neuroscience and psychology, developmental psychology, we know that children, to learn, need to explore, need to really try with their body and with their senses and perceive the information coming from the environment. So if they are kind of restricted in circles activities, or in activities that are very structured, they explore less. So as music teachers, instead of supporting the musicality development through an explorative movement, we are actually kind of restricting their possibilities and their type of discovery and learning. Okay, so we know very well that to develop musical skills, we need to move. But what Gordon says, it's very important, and it's very different compared to the other pedagogies that have been saying, that have been talking about this. I think that Dalcroze potentially, I haven't studied Dalcroze so well, but I think that Dalcroze talk about the importance of movement the importance of a free movement for the development of musicality. If some of you guys that are listening now have studied Dalcroze, it would be very nice if you want to write something about it. But in Gordon, what really convinced me about music learning theory is that the movement that the children have during the sessions is completely explorative. So they are free to move in the way they want when I am singing songs for them. we have seen yesterday that the songs that we sing are not easy songs, so there is complexity into our proposals, into our musical proposals. We sing songs in all the modes of jazz and in different meters and tempos, so the children are immersed in a bubble of very rich music. Okay, it's called musical context. This context is showing the children the richness of a vocabulary of music, not only major or minor or songs in 4/4 and 3/4, but also songs in Dorian, Locrian, Phrygian, Aeolian, all the modes, and with different tempos. So unusual meters like 5/4, 7/4, 10/4. Okay, so to children to explore these, they can jump, they can roll, they can walk around the room, they can even skip, you know, they really have a possibility. They can be seated for as long as they want, they can stand on the wall and explore the music just by doing little movements. So it's very interesting to see basically how we can develop a child-led approach in this way. So Gordon really suggests us as teachers, you sing, you propose something to the children that you think is correct for that specific moment, for that specific group, during that moment of their day. Okay, so you really need to observe them, and once you have understood potentially what they need to receive musically, but also emotionally sometimes, you sing a song. So you choose from a very big repertoire of songs that you have memorized. You choose the one that you think is the best for them in that moment, and children are free to explore that song in the way they prefer. We as teachers observe them and perhaps copy them, imitate them, and then create more structured or more organized activities based on the movements that they are suggesting to us. Okay, so it's an amazing exchange, continuous exchange, because we of course create activities that can be done by the rest of the group, but they are completely born from the children's needs and children's ideas. Okay, so this is the very first important thing about our classes at Music Tree, this type of work according to Gordon's music learning theory. What I've noticed though through the years is that children that are starting entering in this stage of life also need a little rule sometimes, or they need, well, not only sometimes, you know, they are developing their teamwork skills. So on top of all these, we also need to manage their behavior, but we have strategies to do it, even if the movement is completely explorative. We use objects, we use scarves, we use parachutes, but the most important thing is to remember that they also like to have little challenges in their games, right, or in their musical activities. So at the base of activities there is always playfulness. I've been writing this in my posts. I had wrote articles, I've done music recipes last year, which is another course online that I led last year, where playfulness was one of the things that I've explained quite you know, in a deep way, because I really think that children need to engage while having fun. If children are having fun, if children are having a little challenge at the end of the game, then they are much more involved in the game, much more engaged. Why? Because they want to learn. And it's in the nature of the children to wanting to improve. So if we set the right challenge to them, they are understanding that they are improving. They are going outside the comfort zone, okay? And they are learning something. The typical thing that we probably have said, I definitely remember saying this to my mom, but perhaps you have heard it from your children, or you have said that to your parents too. It's like, I want to be big. I want to be big like you. I want to become an adult. When I will be big, when I'll be an adult. Okay, kids want to grow, wants to learn. The brain needs to, you know, get stimulated and get challenged. So in my games, in my activities, there is always a little bit of this particular thing. There is always a little bit of a challenge. Let's make a very simple example. When we are playing with the scarves, we can throw the scarves on the sky and on the air. And in MLT, we sing a lot of patterns to children that they can imitate or not, but that's a completely different subject that I'm not going to explain in this mini course. But anyway, when we sing the patterns, we can sing the patterns like pam pam pam, and instead of simply taking the scarf with a hand, I ask my students to take the scarf with their head. So that's an extra challenge, and everybody's like, whoa, I want to take it. Look, I took it. Or, no, it fell on the floor. So they're much more motivated to try this game because it's complicated, because it's a funny thing to do, because they are improving, because they are learning a new skill. And that's what they want to do naturally. Another example of this can be playing with a parachute, okay? So everybody's playing with a parachute, everybody's holding the parachute, you're singing your song, and then at the end of a song, instead of simply moving up the parachute, you can challenge the group and ask that everybody needs to go under the parachute at the same time and be covered by the parachute when the song ends, okay? So this is another little challenge. So this is the main idea behind the activities for kids 3, 4, 5, 6 and above. Of course, the challenge needs to change accordingly to the development of the children, to the cognitive development of the kids. So the games are going to become more complicated, the activities are going to have more rules within, but still the type of movement that we suggest to the children, it's flowing and it's continuous, okay? We don't suggest them to clap, or we don't suggest them to do particular gesture to describe the sounds. For example, we don't sing notes with a hand like kodai. We never put names on the sounds. We're still working with pam pam for many years. Having said that though, I'm going to connect music learning theory with this idea that kids need a little bit more challenges during the game and playfulness at the base of activities, with the fact that when we're working with groups of that age, children are developing also a lot of other skills, as they were doing before, of course. But in our sessions right now, there are not the parents and the carers anymore. So we can help the students to develop also other skills. And what I like to do is to work on the executive functions specifically, mostly because as a music therapist, I've always been intrigued by, developing also other skills in children, not only musicality skills, and also because I've been participating in research. I participated in a research in a pilot project with University College London, in a pilot project with a couple of our psychologists, and we worked on basically the impact of music on the executive functions in a completely non-verbal environment. Hello Jody, thanks for being here. So since I've been doing this course, it's been very interesting to understand what we can actually do and what we can actually stimulate in the brain of children, okay? Of course, we don't know exactly what's going on into the brains, and to know that we should be connected to some very complicated machines the whole times, which is not what we want. But we know that particular activities stimulates particular cognitive functions, and we know that because we have been running tests and because we have seen the results. So on the basis of that, I can create more activities and more exercises. Therefore, in my last 10-15 minutes of each class, there are activities that are more structured. So there are not just flow movement and continuous movement based on Gordon MLT, but there are also this type of more structured activities, okay? As I like to call them. In this sense, children are asked to do something more precise, okay? So it's not just them suggesting me how to create the activities, but I lead them a bit more in those moments, and I can give them particular movements to do. Okay, so this is the video that you've seen in the PDF today, in the day 2. That activity is a much more structured activities. At the basis of it, there is still MLT, Gordon's music learning theory, but it's much more structured as an activities. Okay, children are not just exploring freely the space in that activities. They are standing inside a hoop, and they have to jump on a specific moment of a song. So in the PDF, I've explained all the steps that are necessary for me to make my students feeling confident when it's the actual moment to jump or to play on the instruments. So before that moment, there are still moments in which the children are free to explore and free to learn and associate their ideas with the movements, listening to the song. Okay, so the goal in MLT is to reach coordination between body, breathing, and listening. Okay, and also using the voice, of course, so singing. So the goal of music learning theory, it's not learning the musical notes, recognize ta, ti, ti, being able to sign the pitch of the notes, recognize forte, piano, rallentando, crescendo. No. The goal is literally just the development of coordination, because coordination is necessary to be able to play an instrument when children are a bit older. Okay? So in these games that I suggest, in these more structured games that I suggest, there is this goal. The goal is to help the children get into their coordination, and they can get to it through more structured flow movement and activities based on MLT, but they can also develop other skills like attention, inhibition of impulses, cognitive thinking, cognitive planning, working memory. Okay, all of these executive functions are involved in the type of activity that I suggested in the PDF today. When the kids need to learn, if you have noticed, there is a part when I'm just doing this. Okay, so this is literally an introduction. And I told to them, and I say, this is the introduction, don't move in the introduction. So that's already something they have to plan, and they have to inhibit their movement, okay? Because when we hear some movement, automatically our body would move on that music, right? When we hear some music, automatically our body would move on that music. So if I ask them not to move on that particular point, they have to think how to do not do that, okay? So they are already planning cognitively what to do. And then the song does. When on that first note, what would you do? You would jump, right? And instead, no, they still have to wait until ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. So it's a long part, it's a long moment before they can actually do those 3 jumps, right? So introduction, and then bum, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. So they have to identify, first of all, these 2 parts, like they did the parents yesterday, right? Pum, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Pam pam pam, padam padam padam, pam pam pam, padam padam padam. So they know they have to jump only on those ones, and then there is another long part which is different from the first ones. Pam padadadadam padadadam. It's much longer, and then pam. So there is a lot of inhibition of impulses in this game, and a lot of attention involved, of course, listening. So I really like to organize this type of activities because I know that they are working on different skills and not only on musicality. And then of course the step after is quite simple because they perfectly know how to jump. Maybe they're not yet coordinated because they're still very young, so they need time to be able to coordinate breathing, singing and moving with the listening. So before they're able to do that, they are trying to do it, right? They are in different stages of what we call preparatory ideation, according to Gordon's music learning theory. But they are now starting thinking what they have to do. And they realize little by little that what they are doing, their movement, is actually not exactly what they have thought, right? So their production is not yet what they have in their mind. This has a specific name in music learning theory. So music learning theory is a great theory for music teachers to know what is behind our students' musical development. And it helps us to create the activities bearing in mind all the different stages of a musical development of children 0 to 6. Then of course you can also study what happened after, because Gordon developed also the part after that. But for this stage, we structure our activities into something that is called informal guidance. And this is basically what I'm talking about. So the next step is to bring these movements, those 3 jumps, those claps, straight onto the instruments. And that is quite simple, because they already know when they have to jump. I don't even have to conduct them. They perfectly know when to move, because the listening has been developed in many different ways before we get to the hoops, okay? And therefore, when they just have to hit the drum, it becomes quite easy. The video that you saw on the PDF is literally the first time that I tried that activity with my students. So they were still figuring out what was happening. Their movements were not yet coordinated, and for me, that's totally fine. So I would never tell them, oh, that was not in the right moment at this age. I wouldn't explain this to them. I wouldn't say, you're going too fast, you're going too slow. Can you not hear? I saw this when I was a child, telling me like, this is too fast, can you not hear it? No, I can't hear it, otherwise I would go slower. Okay? So it's very important to give them the possibility to make mistakes, to explore, to take their own time to get to that goal that is coordination. Okay, oof. I think I've been talking quite a lot. I don't know for how long I've been talking about this, but it's such an interesting subject for me, so I could keep talking about it. But if you have any questions, this is the moment. You can write something now, and I would, in the meantime, explain something. You can sign up for 2 webinars that are completely free, and here we have some students that are going on this weekend. So on Saturday and Sunday, we are gonna run 2 webinars. The first one is about nonviolent communication for music teachers and facilitators, and that is going to be led by Pedro Consorti, but I'll be there as well. And this is a very particular subject. It's a subject that has not been so explored yet into the music education fields. So I really suggest you to have a go with it. Book your place, and if you cannot participate, don't worry. You can always just listen to the recordings, watch the recordings. I'll be there as well, so I'll tell my experience as well. Now Pedro will explain his theory and what they do in Brazil with his work, with this type of work. But I will also explain a little bit better in details what that type of work I've done to my life as a facilitator and a music teacher. And what else? And then the day after, there is going to be my workshop, which is going to be body percussion for children, the steps to build a body music activity. So we will talk about many different things related to body music for children. Okay, so here we have no questions, but we have Zelinda. Thank you, you're just great. Thanks so much. And then Berna as well, thanks dear. Berna, where do you write from? Is that Turkey? I don't know, but your surname looks Turkey to me, so it would be nice to see. Sanya, hi Sanya, where are you writing from? Croatia, Rijeka, nice, I've been there so many times. It's literally like an hour and a half from my hometown. It would be nice if I come that way, maybe during the summer, we could potentially meet. Because I've seen your name on Facebook many times. So it would be nice to actually meet in person when it's possible. Okay, so if there are, yes, I'm from Turkey, nice. So merhaba. That's the only thing that I know how to say. Merhaba, I think, and then I know how to say with a very bad pronunciation, işli köfte, something like that. It's one of my students here that told me that her favorite food is işli köfte, I think. And it took me a long time to be able to say this to an adult that was speaking Turkish, so I could understand what she was talking about. I hope you can understand my English, Berna, because it's, you know, I talk quite fast. I know I'm a bit too fast sometimes, but I'm not a first English speaker, and it's not my mother tongue, so I hope you can understand my accent, Italian accent, a bit better. Okay, so no questions, I would say, because here we have comments but no questions. Therefore, subscribe to the webinars, and if you cannot participate, don't worry, just book it and then you will receive the recording. And that's it. I'll see you tomorrow for the session about children 5 to 6. It's going to be very, very cool. I love the group that you will see in the video. There are 8 kids that started with me this year after basically 2 years of lockdown. I didn't meet them before. They're completely new students to me. And when they started in September, I was like, oh my gosh, their level of musicality is so low compared to children that usually are 5. But probably because of the 2 years of lockdown, so all the things they have missed out. And in 2 terms, they have done so well that every time I teach them, I'm like, well done to me and well done to them, of course, because they put so much effort. They love this type of classes, and you will see how we basically bring this song to the instruments, okay, for a group of children. Can you use your music list, Tiziana? Allora, I am looking forward to meet you during summer. Yeah, it will be very nice. Definitely, Sanya. Can you use your music list? Can you give? Sorry, what do you mean? What do you mean by list? I don't understand exactly what you mean by list. But you can write me a message if you want. You can write me a private message, so we can chat a bit better about this. Can you give your music list? Yeah, list of songs, list of activities. I don't know what you mean about that from that. Okay, so everybody, thank you so much for being here today. We say goodbye to Stevie Wonder, which is always here with us, and it's like an angel bringing positive vibes and great musical skills. Okay, so guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye, bye, bye.